sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS.
Let me think it over. I need to talk to my wife. My partner is traveling in Europe, and I'll need to run this by him. I need to sleep on it. How about call me next Friday? I'm getting ready to go out of town. How many times have you heard this before? Probably a lot if you've been in sales. You know what it means, right? It means no. It means I'm not going to buy from you. However, so many salespeople, not you though, they fall for this shit. They think it means they think it means, hey, good, I get to follow up. I think I have a shot. You don't have a shot. You got no shot. 80% of the time, it means no. 20% of the time, it means you're going to have to chase them and maybe give up some dignity to get that business. The reality is, all you can control is what you do. You cannot control what they say. You cannot control that they say, I want to think it over. They can't control that. You can't control that they're not ready to buy. You can't control that maybe you missed something either in the sales call or before the sales call. I guess you can control that you missed something. But the reality is people are going to tell you what they're going to tell you. But here's what you do control. You control what you do. And if you knew that 80% of the time, in my world, 95% of the time, if somebody says, let me think it over or any of that other crap, it means no. And so we need to look at it as such. So when somebody says, let me think it over, call me in a week, let's do something later, whatever, I want you in your mind and maybe out of your mouth, hey, listen, let's just go ahead and call this a no. Let's just call this a no. Right now, if you're not sure you want to do this, let's call it a no. Here's what I want you to remember, though. It's not fair to do that if you hadn't warned somebody ahead of time. It's not fair to say, let's just call this a no, if you hadn't warned them. Warned them? What the hell do you mean, Walker? So, at the beginning of your sales call, it's up to you, the salesperson who has 50% control of the situation. You have 50% control. You're the one, y'all are negotiating the rules at the beginning of your sales call. If you're not negotiating rules at the beginning of your sales call, you're going by the prospect's rules, which often you don't know what they are. So it's super important that at the beginning of the call, among other things, is say, hey, look, if I get the feeling this doesn't make sense for either one of us, you mind if I'm just straight with you and tell you so? Do you mind if I just call it if I don't think it makes sense? To which your prospect will probably agree. They'll say, yeah, that'd be great. And then you give them permission to tell you no too. Hey, listen, if you're not in fully, if you don't think this is a great idea, let's call it a no. Can you tell me no if you don't think it's a great idea? And they'll always agree. They'll say, oh, hell yeah, I can tell you no. Absolutely. All right. And then you say, here's the harder question. Let's pretend the unlikely event we both think this does make sense. What do you see happening next? Ask them what they see happening next. And if at that point they say, well, I'll need to run this by my partner or by my wife, you say, can I make a suggestion? Why don't we meet with them? Is one alternative. The other alternative is to say, all right, let's go ahead and meet then. But at the end of this, you tell me whether or not you can endorse me. You can endorse what we suggest to your partner. If you're not sure you can endorse this to them, Let's just call it a no. Is that okay with you? Get an agreement, something to get a yes or a no. Got to get the agreement, yes or no to something. And if at the end of the meeting, after they've agreed to that, if what you're hearing is, let me think it over, I'm not sure, I'm waiting on some other things, I need to check with my partner, just know what they're experiencing is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD, as it's called, right? They're not there yet. It means you missed something. Maybe there's not enough pain. Maybe you missed the budget. Maybe there's a hidden decision maker you didn't discover. Here's what I need you to do. If at the end of the call, it's your job, quite frankly, to disqualify people that aren't ready. That's your job, disqualify. It's funny, it's what I teach people. Not so much selling, it's how do you disqualify people so you don't waste your time, you don't waste their time. And at the end of the meeting, if you have not disqualified them, and they can tell you no, or they can tell you yes. And if at the end of the meeting, it's not a yes, call it a no. If it makes you feel better, call it a no for now. Your prospect's world changes every 90 days. When you do that, when you tell them, hey, look, sounds like it's not the right time. Let's push off. Let's do this another time. They may fight you. No, really. I'm going to check with so-and-so, or I just need to sleep on it. If that's where you end up, I mean, there's one other option, which you can say, well, let's do this. How long do you think you'd need? And they might say 2 weeks. And if it's 2 weeks, bullshit, right? I would say the longest, unless there's some absolutely extraordinary event. Hey, listen, if you hadn't figured it out, if tomorrow by, say, 5 o'clock, you're not thinking, hell yeah, I got to go do this. I got to call this guy back. Let's call it a no. Is that okay? You must always be kind. You must always be direct. Don't ever be an asshole. You must say it gently and kindly, but call it a no. If somebody's not ready to move forward with what you agreed to before, then let's call it a no. No harm, no foul. Maybe we'll talk again another time. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. Go get them.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.